for the upcoming solar eclipse, which is happening this Sunday here in Los Angeles, Sunday night, which is December 13th, and the rest of the world it's happening on December 14th in the sign of Scorpio. I'm I've been like really caught up with my life, but a lot of my friends and clients that I have seen over the years have been reaching out to me because they're feeling a lot of intensity, and it's natural. We have a lot of intense energy in Scorpio, and I thought it would be great to make a quick video so we all can understand what's going on. Uh, I generally forget to do this, so I'm going to do it right now. If you want to get a reading from me or you want to understand more about astrology, you can write to me at my first name Malini at cosmicartandscience.com. My website is cosmicartandscience.com. I have a Facebook page with the same name, Cosmic Art and Science. And I have an Instagram page, and my Instagram goes by your friend Malini. It's your friend Malini. So those are all the ways you can get in touch with me. Uh, if this topic is interesting or some questions come up, or you would like to get a reading. Okay, so let's dive down. And literally dive down because Scorpio is a sign which is so deep, right? It's the deep oceans. Scorpio is the original eighth house of the zodiac. And right now, the nodes moved into the lunar nodes, the north node and the south node of the moon moved into the Taurus Scorpio axis. Taurus and Scorpio are the signs that are directly opposite each other. The lunar nodes traced themselves back from Sagittarius to Scorpio and from Aries, from Gemini to Taurus, uh, September of this year. And this is the first eclipse that is happening, first solar eclipse that is happening in this axis. 2 weeks ago, we had a lunar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, and which was better than how the solar eclipse is feeling for most people, uh, partly because um, the moon is exalted in Taurus. The energy of Taurus really stabilizes the moon, which is presence of mind, right? And the north node of the moon, which is Rahu, is also very stabilized. Its energy is contained in the sign of Taurus. The same is true with Ketu, the south node of the moon, whose energy is also very potent and contained in Scorpio, but it feels a little bit different, and we're going to get into what it feels like. So, first things first, solar eclipses happen on a new moon. That's when the sun and moon come together, and the moon is right between the earth and the sun, so that the moon's shadow falls on the earth. That's what causes the eclipse. Lunar eclipse will always happen on or near on on a full moon, where the earth's shadow falls on the moon. Of course, this eclipse cannot be seen, the solar eclipse happening on December 14th, it cannot be seen from the part of the world I live in, which is Los Angeles, California. But it will be visible in parts of the world where it's happening during the daytime. The extra intensity that we are feeling is because the moon itself feels very restless in Scorpio. So let's just talk about Scorpio, right? Scorpio is the eighth sign of the zodiac. It's the original eighth sign to start with the zodiac at Aries, and it really represents the deep oceans and deep waters, where all your vulnerabilities and insecurities come to surface, right? So uh, if you think about the really deep, deep ocean where the sun rays cannot even penetrate, that deep ocean represents the environment of Scorpio. It's the eighth house, original eighth house. And what that really means is eighth house comes after the seventh house. It's a moksha house, it's a house of liberation or a house of transformation, which really brings up all your insights, turns it out. It's literally inside out. And you really cannot hide from all your secrets, all your deep emotional vulnerabilities, all the shame and guilt that you're hiding within. It's very hard to hide from any of that. And what's what the energy of Scorpio, the sign itself, makes you do is it brings you and puts you deep down that dark ocean where it's even difficult for sun rays to reach at times, right? But life thrives. There is fish there. Life thrives. All kinds of organisms thrive in the deep oceans. So it feels like you're dying, but you're not really going to die, right? So eighth house symbology is has to do with occult death. Um, the symbol itself is the genitals, where we are the most vulnerable, especially when you think about in terms of other people, right? You're very vulnerable when it comes to other people, especially in your genitals and your private areas. And but it's also the seat of creativity. I'm going to actually share my screen as we talk so that you all can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the eclipse chart. It's going to happen a couple of hours after this time in Los Angeles. But you can see the sun, south node of the moon, Ketu, and moon coming together. It's Amavasya, causing this eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, uh, right opposite the north node of the moon. The north and south node of the moon, they travel as a pair in an axis, is in Taurus. So this is happening right opposite Taurus in the sign of Scorpio, which is like the deep oceans, right? I have some of my notes here so that I don't miss any points and we get through everything I wanted to talk about. So the energy of the eclipse is felt at least 2 weeks before the eclipse and about 2 3 weeks after the eclipse, with the most intense being on the eclipse itself. So last year, right around solstice, right around winter solstice, we had the eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius, with a bunch of planets in Sagittarius in the Sagittarius Gemini axis, the Sagittarius Gemini axis here. And around that time, we had the outbreaks of COVID-19 in China, and it was spreading all over the world. And that eclipse was so potent that the you can see the nature of coronavirus, right? It spread like a wildfire. And what got it to spread? The winds, literally. It's an airborne disease, right? Sagittarius is a fiery sign, and Gemini is an air sign. So the elements came together to really spread the disease. This time, the eclipse is happening in Scorpio Taurus axis. Scorpio is Both Scorpio and Taurus are feminine signs. Uh, Scorpio is fixed water, and Taurus is fixed earth. They both are very fixed. Generally, I love fixed signs because if you start something when there are a lot of planets in the fixed signs, it helps you create It's for long-term goals and commitments. The thing with Taurus, with Scorpio, is it's fixed water. So even though it's feminine, and if you think about water, the nature of water is to flow. But when you contain it and you keep it fixed in a container, what happens? It begins to get stale, right? And all kinds of organisms will start growing in that water. So that's how this whole energy feels. It feels very, very mucky. It feels very wonky because all the emotions that we have not dealt with, our deepest inner secrets, our shame, our guilt, jealousy, envy, all that hidden deep stuff is hard to ignore now because all the focus is there. The entire focus of the of your being is right there. So, like I said, you'll feel the intense energies for a couple of weeks before and after the eclipse, and then because Taurus is a feminine fixed sign, you can feel the fixed nature of it, wherein it's hard to flow through your emotions, but you're stuck in it. You're really stuck in that vulnerability. It's probing. It's like entrenching. It's constantly emotionally probing, and you just can't like bypass it. It's right there. Okay, so taking positive action in the world becomes harder. That's the nature of feminine, right? The feminine is, or feminine signs are more receptive. They are not action oriented. They are more being in the moment and enjoying. But in the moment, imagine you go to, a lot of us have it, right? We all have family dramas, and you go to a family party and you're in an enclosed space with all these people who are triggered and you can't leave the house. You're constantly in that triggered uh, enclosure. Then what do? You can't help but transform, right? So taking positive action in the world becomes very hard when you feel like this heavy wet blanket on you, which is holding you down. That heaviness brings you down. You never think about the black hole, The black hole has like the eighth house Scorpio kind of quality, right? It sucks up big stars. It can really, big stars can completely disappear in a black hole. And then the only way, which we don't know because none of us have done it, but the only way we speculate to get through a black hole is to fall directly straight into the black hole so that you go through the singularity and come out on the other side. It was a Nobel Prize this year for physics, for those who don't know. But that's what this whole thing feels like. And I'm not surprised that the Nobel Prize in physics for black holes was given after Ketu enters Scorpio, right? That's the nature of Ketu. Ketu is the headless body, so it's everything neck down. You think about a dragon, and the head of the dragon without the rest of the body is Rahu. And the head has four out of the five senses, actually has all five senses. It has eyes, nose, smell, like sense of smell, sight, taste, touch, hearing, all those are present in your head. And then the rest of the body is just a repository, right? It's of information that you had gathered throughout your life. So Ketu itself is very fixed. It's very stubborn because it doesn't have the sense organs to direct it somewhere. So wherever it goes, it's very stubborn and it drills down. That's the only thing Ketu can do, the south node of the moon, which is, you can see here. It really drills down. And I'm not surprised that the Nobel Prize for in physics this year, after Ketu went into Scorpio, was given for the discovery of black holes. I was pretty stoked and excited about it. But now we're dealing with the black hole of Scorpio. So let's drill down a little bit more here. So, like I said, it's the original eighth house of the zodiac, so you feel very vulnerable, but it's also the source of creativity. And Scorpio is really motivated with safety and security. But in the process, it is looking for every single thing that makes it feel insecure and unsafe. So, you think about a guard at the door. The guard's job is to protect the building or the household, the security guard. But it's doing in a way wherein it's looking for every single danger. That's the nature of Scorpio. It looks for every single thing that's wrong, every single thing that is potentially dangerous, every single thing that is, it latches onto everything that is that makes you feel insecure and unsafe. And because it's fixed, it just latches onto it, and that then it's hard to know how to move through that energy. So a lot of us are feeling that, right? And what are the areas where you really look for safety and security? I know in my life there are two areas where I look for safety and security. One is at work, right? You're earning money, and it's a means to your life to create a safe and secure environment. So think about like even small challenges or small criticisms at work that threaten your safety and security. That becomes really heightened when there is a lot of energy in Scorpio. Or Scorpio rules your 10th house, rules your 8th house, rules your second house, rules any of the Artha houses. And we'll talk about the the Artha and the Moksha axis in a bit. But all that becomes very heightened. Anything that has to do with safety and security. The other place we look for safety and security is in our relationships, right? So with our parents, they are our first providers. The mother, especially, mothers are the first providers of safety and security for the child. Uh, After that, it's the father, siblings, your family, then your spouse, and think about it, how vulnerable we get around people that we love or are dear to us, or are related to us in some way or the other. They really bring out, if they cannot provide you safety, they can't provide you a sense of security, it really gets disrupted as an adult. So that's the other place where we really look for safety and security. And so anytime Scorpio, for people like Taurus rule people, Scorpio is your seventh house. And then in when it comes to the other person, it becomes the entire safety and security around that person gets very triggered. You Because you're so insecure, there are chances of lying, cheating, murder. Think about, you know, a lot of people who get killed because of somebody they know personally on an intimate level. Sexual abuse, sexual trauma happens. It has that eighth house Scorpio kind of quality because, again, the intruder is somebody you personally know at an intimate level, whether it's a close friend, a close relative, your own father or siblings, that kind of your spouse. We don't even hear about marital rape that much, but that level of being closely and intimately involved with people brings out how vulnerable we are. It brings out all our fears and insecurities. And honestly, at the end of the day, what are we afraid of the most? We are afraid of dying, right? Everything feels like destruction. And yes, it is destruction in some ways. And the god of death is Yama. And his superpower was he really conquered death. Why is it so important to conquer death? Because then you realize that that dark ocean that you're holding within yourself is doesn't hold any power over you. You realize how the impermanence of this life, you realize how you're living just on a breath, right? So it is really important to really fall through that black hole and come to the other side, fall through that singularity and feel like you're dying, but you're not. You're coming through the other side. And Ketu presents that opportunity. It's like the dragon's tail that is really drilling deep down into our psyches. And Rahu and Ketu both become potent and visible around the eclipses. So in this solar eclipse, on this new moon, which is happening on December 14th, uh, Ketu is joined Sun and Moon, uh, which and causing this eclipse. It's helping us really drill down into our psyche, into the depths of our psyche, and pull out everything that is holding us back from our higher transformation, that is holding us back from really living our full potential. Whether it's your guilt, whether it's your shame, whether it's your jealousy or envy, whether it's your little secrets that you have been holding on to for a lifetime that you've never told anybody. Ketu is helping you really look at all those things, and it's like no more. You can't let any of these things hold you back. Um, the other thing that is happening is this eclipse is also joined by gentle planets. So Venus and Moon both are gentle feminine planets. Venus, they say, is debilitated in the sign of Virgo, but more than Virgo, it's Scorpio where Venus is just so not comfortable. And you can understand why, because if you think about it, Scorpio is a feminine sign. Venus and Moon both are very feminine planets. So why are Moon is actually debilitated in Scorpio, and why are these two feminine planets uh, debilitated or not doing well in the sign of Scorpio, even though Scorpio is feminine? It is because Scorpio is fixed water, right? The nature of feminine is to flow, and then the flow of the mind and the flow, which is the moon, and the flow of Venus is restricted and contained till they do the work. So you can't escape. There is no escapism anymore. You have to really get down and do the work, and that feels extremely uncomfortable for many people, especially the gentle planets. Uh, there is a story about the nakshatra or the constellation where this eclipse is taking place. It's taking place in the nakshatra of Jyestha. Jyestha is the last 13 degrees of Scorpio. And you can see all these planets, Moon, Mercury, Ketu, Sun, are in Jyestha nakshatra. And Jyestha really means the older one or the eldest one. It's directly opposite Rohini in Scorpio, which is Rohini is supposed to be the youngest feminine star, and then Jyestha is like the old crone. And I've heard from a lot of uh, my friends where the whole transition from the maiden to the mother to the crone is not very supported, especially the transition from mother to crone. So that energy feels very intense, and the energy of Jyeshtha is not really tapped into that much. um, because as a society we really don't understand women and their wisdom as the crone who have had the life experiences, who have lived like the young girl who's the lover, who has lived like the mother, the nurturing mother, and now is in this phase where she can act as the elder, imparting all the wisdom she has gained over the years to her entire community and also her children. We don't really celebrate or support women, or even allow that transition to happen. So that's one thing we need to keep in mind with all these planets bringing focus to Jyestha. The ruler or the deity of Jyestha Nakshatra is Indra. Indra is a Vedic god. His name uh, is is all over the Rig Veda, uh, and he was invoked for bringing in. He's a very fiery god, fire and sky. He also ruled the sky, so he was the god of rains and lightning and thunderstorms. And very fierce. He was celebrated for his warrior-like spirit, his valor, his courage. He was celebrated for that and invoked for that. So the story with Jyestha is that there was a demon who drank or engulfed all the water from Earth, and it threatened the life on Earth. And then Indra was invoked to fight this demon and restore water. But now this water sits in the demon's belly. So Indra lets himself be swallowed by this demon. And you can really think about, like, if each one of us thinks about ourselves being as Indra and being swallowed by this demon and going into the body of the demon and into the belly, the dark underbelly or the belly of the dragon is the environment of Scorpio, right? And we need that courage, the Indra's courage to even be willing to undergo that journey. And when Indra slits the belly of the demon from within and then returns water back to the earth. And that's a very good story to understand the energy of Scorpio, because we need to be willing to go deep in these waters, which is fixed, it's not flowing. You can't really do much except really go deep, have that courage, that fierce courage to go deep, and then come out on the other end. Think about the black hole. Think about the dragon's belly being engulfed and inside the belly and then coming out. That's what is required at this time. That's what is this eclipse is really trying to ignite in all of us. Of course, the masculine planets like Sun or Jupiter do well in the sign of uh, Scorpio, because it's like this dark ocean, and then the sun is the light in that ocean, right? So it has that capacity to endure that darkness with its own light. The gentle planets like Venus and Moon have a tougher time doing that. So how do you really harmonize that energy, right? We have a few cues here. Firstly, Jyeshtha, the nakshatra, is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in this eclipse. It's at very, look at the degrees. Everything is within like a degree of each other, right? Uh, so, and generally there is planetary war when planets come within a degree of each other. Sun is still further away, but you can see here in uh, the Saturn and Jupiter and Capricorn are within a degree of each other, and there's a planetary war, which really means is, you know, one planet's energy is getting filtered through the other planet's energy when their rays are coming to Earth, right? And you're trying to figure out what what are you feeling, basically. There's a lot in the mix. Uh, so Mercury, our first hint is Mercury. How to deal with this energy is Mercury allows a lot of discrimination. So Mercury rules all the constellations which are at Gandanta. Gandanta are points between a water and a fire sign, and there is no constellation that bridges the two. So Jyestha ends at 2959 Scorpio, and at 0 degrees Sagittarius, we have the next nakshatra, which is Mula. So there is nothing that bridges this water and fire sign. And Mercury rules these constellations that are at the end of the water signs. It rules Jyeshtha, it rules Revati, Pisces and Aries, water, air. It rules Aslesha here between Cancer and Leo. And what Mercury does is it gives us the necessary discrimination. It gives us the intellect to move through our emotions. So it's easier if you talk about your about about what you're feeling, maybe through psychotherapy or just naming your emotions. Sometimes it's just easier to name. I am feeling sad. I am feeling frustrated. I'm feeling angry. Just naming the emotions helps reduce the charge and helps your brain make those connections, right? So that's one thing. The other cue that we have is, you know, the opposite sign of Scorpio is Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. It's the original second house of the zodiac. So it represents all the sense organs. So really engaging in sensual and sensory stimulus. So really refine what you're seeing through your eyes, what you're putting in your mouth, right? Eat really good and rich food that really grounds your body. The music you listen to, make sure it's uplifting in some way or brings you joy. You know, that's why around Christmas people listen to Christmas carols, right? Because that has some kind of joy in it. Even listening to mantras, so you're taking care of the sense of sound, smelling, engaging in fragrances and perfumes, uh, and really engaging in beauty because Taurus is a sign of beauty and it's the sign of aesthetics, it's a sign of comforts, it's a kind of sign of stability. So, and we have Rahu there, so Taurus is extremely stable, and then Scorpio is constantly mutating, constantly changing, going through like 10 billion emotions per second and cannot hold on to anything, right? Everything just feels like it's dragging it down. So when you engage your senses, uh, it helps ground your body, it helps ground your mind, it helps you focus your mind on something that would that would it's not escapism but give an anchor to that emotion that you're feeling. I hope that makes sense, and try it out, and you can leave in the comments below. um, if that helped. Eating rich good food, really good food, home prepared food, comfort food, this is the time to do it. Also, we have to remember that on December 21st, we have the winter solstice. So the sun, as it transits through Scorpio and into Sagittarius, the days are becoming shorter and shorter in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, it's the opposite. The days are becoming longer and longer. But we are also feeling that loss of light and heat every day, right? And most animals in the animal kingdom would hibernate in the northern hemisphere, except humans, where we have this rat race and we need to keep going on and going on, and our outward motion doesn't stop, but it becomes so hard to have a positive worldly action when there is so much going on in your inner world. uh, we are moving towards winter solstice, so the shortest day of the year, and the days are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Less light, less vitality, everything that sun represents. And we have all the planets around on the day of the eclipse, all the planets in feminine signs. So you have Venus, Moon, Mercury, Sun in Scorpio, which is fixed water, feminine sign. We have Saturn and Jupiter in Capricorn, which is also a feminine sign. It's cardinal Earth. We have Mars in Pisces, which is mutable water. We have uh, Rahu in Taurus, which is fixed Earth. So we have fixed feminine energy. And feminine literally means very internal. It's very internal oriented. There's less of external action and everything is inward oriented, right? Um, and keep that in mind when you're pushing yourself for that uh, extra fuel for that on that accelerator. It comes at a cost. It comes at an inner cost. And instead of dismissing how you're feeling, really pay attention to your insights and ground yourself. I think that is what is required. The other thing that we really need to be careful about this uh, Scorpio energy is is the energy of Indra, right? Uh, I'm just going to close this. Is the energy of Indra because in the Vedic times, Indra was celebrated as this fierce god uh, who was celebrated for his valor and his courage. But later on, in Puranic times, he was also attributed with the abuse of power. And when you have so much that's going on, especially when it comes to you and the other person, and all your insecurities and vulnerabilities as it arises in relationship to the other person, there is a chance that you would drag yourself into the emotional drama, drag yourself into conflicts and creating conflicts that were not even there. Uh, because if there is no flow, then the warrior spirit of Scorpio, because it has a lot of energy that way. It's ruled by Mars. It has that warrior fiery aspect to it. Will lead to internal conflicts, especially with people you love. So so watch out for that. Watch out for unnecessary drama. Some drama is necessary, some conflict is necessary in order for relationships to resolve themselves and move forward. But the unnecessary drama arising out of irrational fear is the other detriment of this whole Scorpio energy, which Ketu is bringing up. And I'm kind of I think we are pretty blessed that we have Ketu here instead of Rahu, because Ketu allows us to sit in that discomfort instead of escaping, instead of trying to find temporary relief in alcohol, sex, drugs, food, binging on food or Netflix, right? Um, Keto allows us to have that strength to really sit through that discomfort. If it is inside the dragon's belly, it allows us to go through that black hole and then come out on the other side victorious. That's the promise of Ketu. But you have to stick to it, even though it feels like dying. I hope this video really helped in clarifying some of the things that you think you can do. Um, the other thing that I actually thought I could talk about is the four Purusharthas, right? And I've been pondering about it. The four Purusharthas, Purush meaning human being, the four pillars of life that give meaning to human life are dharma, which is uh, your rightful path or purpose, artha, which is means to life or anything you value in life, right? Your livelihood, your resources, kama, which are your pleasures and desires, and moksha, which is liberation. And in the Indian philosophy, all four pillars of life are equally important. What's happening with this Taurus Scorpio axis is it's activating Taurus being the original second house, it's the original Artha house, and Scorpio being the original eighth house of the zodiac, so it's the original Moksha house. Most of us are transforming through the axis of uh, refining the things in our life uh, that instead of bringing us greater ease are bringing us greater suffering. And then how do we liberate from that? Moksha is literally liberation, right? Or transformation. So how do we transform our relationship to things that are that were intended to make our life easier? If you think about your job or the money or your wealth or your family or your community, we have all these things around us because we want our life to be a little bit easier. And what happens is in Scorpio, in that whole sign of Scorpio, we realize how it is not easy, but it's bringing us more suffering because of our own emotional drama that we have not faced or we have not addressed. So it's a great opportunity to look at that. Of course, based on what your ascendant is, this axis is going to change. So, for example, for Aries, Taurus is the second house and Scorpio is the eighth house. But for a Leo rising, Scorpio is the fourth house. And for a Capricorn rising, Scorpio is the 11th house, right? The 11-5 axis. So, based on where your ascendant is, this whole eclipse is going to shift, and that area of life will come into focus in a very Scorpio kind of way. So, the black hole that we talked about, the deep oceans where the sunlight cannot even penetrate, what area of life is that for you? For some, it may represent their homes, like for Leo rising. For Cancer rising, it may be things to do with their creativity and when they indulge in creative projects, how all their fears and insecurities get triggered, and they need to move through that in order to have that creative breakthrough. Um, so it's if you want to figure out where for your sign this whole eclipse is happening and how it's affecting your life, how it's affecting your relationships or the area of life where this eclipse is happening, feel free to write me at malini at cosmicartandscience.com. I hope this was really helpful, and I wish more love, light, stability, prosperity, and joy to all of you. All my love to you. Bye.